So now we're going to continue from the login, and I believe your register is still working. I'm going to try our register one more time to be sure that there's no error. So copy path. So go to the page, to V, local host. So I'm going to try to register again. So let me try somebody. So let me see. So password. Occupation. Choose country, and click. It is correct. It takes us to the login page. But if it is not, it's going to throw us an error in the action page. So actually it's working very well. So now, let me just go back to this page one more time and try to pass in and create an error. Let me see. So action page is throwing an error. So the action is returning an error. Let me see. Action is supposed to return us all fields are empty. Okay. Okay. We didn't write for that, in this situation, but it's still throwing an error. So some fields are filled while some are not filled. So that's why I'm not seeing an error there. But it's supposed to. I don't know why it's not. It's supposed to throw me an error. Let's try another kind of error. Let's see. Like let's fill it completely. Let's try. So let me pick this. So right. So this one is actually working very well. Showing the user already exists. So now what I will do is okay. So I don't like the way when you click on it, it ends up in this place. So I want it so that when you click, it will first of all, if all fields are empty, it's supposed to return us back to register page. So I'm going to make this action page. I'm going to say when you click this. So okay. Let me try this one more time so let me try this one more time in my page, in the register page, because think I will prefer it here. Let me try it one more time. So let me get rid of that action in the form. So let me see where my error is. Okay. So I feel like the reason why we are having error is because we are not adding bootstrap. Now whenever you are styling it, you can use bootstrap to apply style to this. So I'm going to use what I'm going to do is um so let me see if I can use a bootstrap style that is going to be used. Oh, let me not go get obsessed with that. Let me leave it. Let's make the login work. After, if you want to fix this error, we can fix it differently. Let me leave this. So I know the error is going to scatter the system, but after we're going to figure out a way of fixing that error. So all fields are required. So after we're going to figure out a way of fixing that error. So let me try to fill in again. Let me see. So I'm just expecting, I know the error is going to pop up at the top, but so what we are going to do is we're going to find a bootstrap way of displaying this error. That's the only way, that's the only solution for it. So the bootstrap way, because directing it to a different action page, it may be very difficult for the user. So you just reduce the user experience. So it's better we just show it in the same page so the user can be able to cancel it. So what we'll do is this particular place here, it needs to be styled. So you need to style it very well. So what we do is we are going to get something like from the bootstrap, but when we are done with the login, we can come back to that. So let me let's go to the login. So now next thing we're going to do is we're going to continue with our login. The next thing we're going to start is let's create a page for the login, our login for the controller. Let's create a function for login. So I'm going to put a comment. So I'm going to say user login. So we're going to say public function. Okay, let me not use this time. So let me use this. So first of all, we're just creating a function that does what? accept what? Two arguments. So this argument, you can call it whatever you want to call it. Now we need to, whenever you're creating the login, we need either the user email or the username to log in. So next thing again, we need what? The person's password. So what we are doing in this login now, the user information is already inside of the database. So what we are doing now is that this login is, we are going to do whatever information that is going to come into this part, we're going to compare it with the one that is already inside of the database to be sure that it is whatever we wanted to write there. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to say, so next thing we're going to do is to check if this user will do what. So we're going to write so we're going to send a message to do what? Select the user email, so, or the user we are going to select the user email from the database and compare it with the user password, the user username, or the user email, the incoming email or the incoming username. So this is what we're doing. We are saying what? We are saying for the database, select from this table where what? The incoming if it is email, is the same with our what? Database email. So if you see the way we're writing our database email, we're using the backtick for the database email. So we are comparing whatever is inside of the database email, if it is the same with what? The whatever the user is putting in as email, or maybe the user is using username. So we are also saying if the username is what? The same with whatever the person puts in as what? As username. So now we are now passing it as a new what? Variable. So next thing we're going to do is so now we're going to use that check user to do what? So we are going to use that to check. So now we have already created that function. So we have already created that this variable. So this variable is doing what? It has a particular MySQL function that do what? Compares what? The database email with what? The incoming email, or the database username with what? The incoming what? Username. So we already have it. So we are now saying if the thing is what? If this from MySQL number does what? Runs through the database and check if it exists. If it is greater than what? 0, means that it already what? Exists. So if it exists, meaning that user already exists in our database. So what do we want to do? So we are going to do what? Print out an error message. We're going to say so if it already exists, so we're going to print it out. We're going to say else print so since if we let me check something. So if it So now we are, so if so our this thing is what we are checking is what if it already what exists. So if it already exists, that if it is greater than 1 means that it already exists, so we are telling it to do what, continue here. So else what we are going to print is we're going to say we're going to print out an error message saying what, email do what, does not match. So if it does not uh, exist, so email does not match, meaning that what the person is trying to put an email that does not exist, or is trying to log in, user does not exist. So whatever you want to write there, you can write user does not exist, or whatever email message you want to write there. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to check for, so we are going to so first thing we're going to do is we're going to check for we're going to grab the user inside of the database. So we're going to use this MySQL fetch associate. So you just fetch user information as an associative array. So we are telling you to do what, fetch all the whole user inside of this as an associative array and pass it here. So instead of this row, this variable row, what we have there is what, the whole users, the user information there. So it has fetched the user information as associative array. So now we are saying instead of that this thing, we just like the way we call an array. So instead of that, give us what, the user what, password. So we are now bringing the password that already exists inside of the database. So we are now assigning it into what, a new variable. So now we are now saying, so next thing we are doing now is what, we are using our previous password. We already have what, the password hash here, which is used to hash password. So we are now hashing what, the incoming password, because that is coming from the login page. So now we are now hashing the incoming password. So as we have hashed it, we are now putting it into a new variable. Now we're now writing a condition to do what, compare. So this function, what it does is what, it is comparing. This is an inbuilt function. So this is an inbuilt function which is used to do what, compare. So what we are trying to compare now is what, we are trying to compare the incoming password with what, the already one that already exists in our database. So if the both of them are what, equal, then we should do what, continue. Else we are going to print else. So we want to print password does not match. So now at this point, now I explain something to you. Now there's always a tweak for all this. Maybe someone is trying to access your user account. So most common way most people used to try to hack into people's account is by trying many passwords. So most people always put use password that is always related to themselves. Like some people use their date of birth to make password. So most time it's very easy to guess people password just by knowing their date of birth. So you can guess their password, you can even guess their just password, you can guess their password just because with their date of birth. For email is very very simple. Everybody can grab people email. So you can guess someone email. So if you can guess someone email very very easy, and you can also guess people password based on their date of birth or their age or but their who is related very dearly to that person. So what you do is sometimes you need to add an additional security to that website to make it really difficult for whoever is trying to guess. So you try to make it very very difficult for whoever is trying to guess that person's password. So now what we are going to do is, instead of this error message, we are going to confuse whoever is trying to guess. We are going to say what, So we're going to make the two email almost similar. So we're going to say email. So email or password or email so email does not match. Same thing we're going to do here. So we're going to say password dot email does not match. So we are now printing in the same error message for both in both situations. So whoever is trying to guess is going to have a hard time trying to figure out if it is the password that is writing wrong or the email that is writing wrong. So next thing we are going to do now is we are going to log the user into a section. So this we are going to log the user in. So to log the user in, we are going to create what? The user presence. So at this point, you want to create the user presence. What we are going to use is what? The section to create the user presence. So the section. So we're going to use a section to create the user presence. So now how do we do it? So what we are doing here is this is just an ordinary variable. So we are creating a variable called what? User section. User logged in. It's just an ordinary section variable. So this is an ordinary section variable. So what are we assigning inside of there? We are assigning what? The user email. Now what we are assigning now is what? And the email from what? The database. So if this person is successful login, what we want to pass into this section is what? Whatever is inside of the database, meaning that by the time the person have gotten here, meaning that the email is the same with what? That of the database, and the password is the same with what? That of the database. So at this point now, we're now saying what? Whatever is inside of the database, pass it inside of here as our user section. So we don't want to keep our user hanging here. So what we're going to do, we're going to redirect that user out. So we're going to use what? The header. So location. So we're going to redirect that person back to. So now we don't have an index page. That is our main home page. So I'm just going to create it. So I'm going to create not creating it out here. I'm going to create it outside here. So make sure you're not creating it inside of the controller. So we're going to create a page. So I'm going to call it, home page, so you don't get confused. Let me just put home. Mostly we call it index.html. So we're going to say home.php, or you can call it index.php. So I think I don't really need to. Let me rename it. Let me use doesn't matter. Now let me go back to this point, and I'm going to put that home dot. So just put it like this. So it's going to direct it to the home page. So make sure you always close whatever you're writing. So now when we get to the home page, let's try to create something fancy. Let's just not that we're creating anything fancy. So how do we know the home page? Let me use the HTML. Bring in the HTML5. Let me use H1. Let me write welcome to home page. So in most websites, you will normally use the index for the home page. So you don't get confused. We normally use the index. I'm just using home because we're just learning. So I'm just going to write welcome to the home page. So let me not do any style. Let's go back. So I'm going to go here. So I already have logged in. I don't need to. I have already registered. So let me go to the login page and try to log in. So make sure that this thing. Okay. So, the section have not been declared. All right. So, but let's log in by the way. So what I will do is going to use thing I have. I did log in with somebody called Mike. So let me say Mike at gmail.com, and then oh sorry, we are not even done with the login. We have not even done with the login. We need to we need to do the we need to finish up with the action page here. So I just remembered. I might just do this. So next thing we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to give this login page a name. So we're going to say name. So name. You call it whatever name you want to call it. So I will call it. Let me call it. So what you're passing here is either email or username. But since I'm giving it type email, is it necessary to give it type email? Let's call it type text. So it will accept both email and username. So type text. Then what else again? So what I'm trying to avoid is, if this thing is being if they have already applied some JavaScript or any let me remove this entirely and go to the front to the register and copy the normal text. Let me just copy some of the normal one here to avoid if Booster have written anything concerning email. So I don't want it to just limit it to just email alone. So here, just using this. So now I can. So I'm just going to pass in. So I'm going to pass in this. So this will be what? So this will be, let's say, email. Let me just write email at the top, but inside of the placeholder we are going to write email or user name. So email or username. So at this point I'm going to remove this and I'm going to pass. Let me just remove this, I don't really need it. So just remove it. I think there's nothing else. Okay, there is. Let me give them the name. Now this one I'll just use info. So info, and for the password I'm just going to put password is okay. So I'm just going to put the name. So I'm going to call it pass, whatever I want to call it, pass. So now for my register I'm going to use input, because I remember that this button has problem in the register. So I'm going to use input. So I'm going to use input. So I'm going to use type submit, input type submit. Then I'm going to pass in value to carry in this our sign in into X, pass it inside of here. So next thing I'm going to have is what? A name. So type submit, input type submit, sign in. So then name. So I can call the name submit. So let me go to the top. Let me create the PHP code. Let's write it here. So I'm going to open PHP question mark PHP question mark PHP. So here I'm going to start. So we're going to say if is set, because we need this to only happen only when they have clicked on what the submit button. So if global post, so global post submit is set, so and that global post submit, so and that global post submit is not empty. So we don't, like I said, this empty is not necessary. Just I always just have a bit of putting it there. So it's not really necessary to put the empty there. So the only the is set that is always necessary. So only when you do what, click on it. Prediction. I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use a prediction. So I'm going to use. So let me use the one I already have here. So first thing first, what we are doing here is, so at this first line, what we are doing is we are trying to fetch what the user, and we are just fetching our, so we're going to fetch whatever we have here. So what we have here is info. So let me remove this. I don't think this is going to do anything, but just put email there. So let me put email there. I don't know what it's going to do, but I just put it there. So info is in name, very important, and info I have here. So our password is just pass. So what I'll put here is what, just pass. So this is an inbuilt function to do what, fetch our user from what, from database. So let me check, let me be sure that I'm using the same database. So the same connection to the database, db connect is the name of our function. So that's what we are doing. So we are using the call. So next thing we need to do is that it's not complete. We need to first of all require our controller here. So require once the controller. So you say controller slash, so require once controller, make sure you close it, always make sure you close it. So now we are saying this will only happen. So we are now passing, as we have grabbed this, so we are now assigning it inside of what, a new variable and a new variable password. We are assigning the password in whatever the user is putting, the incoming one, to what, the password, so to this variable. So now we are now saying only happen if it is not empty. If the information is not empty, the user pass email or the username is not empty, and the user password is not empty, what we want to do is what, continue, else so we want to do what now, we want, so what we are going to do here, we're going to show us, we want it to give output a error message. We're going to say print out what, so all field are required. So we're going to, just like in our register, we're going to assign it into a new variable. So we're going to pass it into a new variable, a variable called what, variable. So whatever you want to call it, I'm going to use the msg I used the other time. So I'm going to pass it here. So I'm going to come here and say so now Now we're going to use the function that was created for the login. So use that function that was created for the login. So this function, so Control C. So I'm going to use it here. So Control V. So since it is an object, we need to do what? Call it. So we need to use remember what we do. So first thing I'm going to do, I think I'm going to call it here first. Where is it? So I'm going to call it. Remember what we assigned it to this object. So I'll call this. I think I'm going to call in the login to be universal. So in this object, so that in any other page it can be able to be used. So I'm going to say variable call no, section is not what we're going to call here. So let me call this. So here variable call arrow base. So I think now let's go and try this and see what's going to happen. So I think it's going to register. It's going to log in the user. Or before I even continue, let me just start by okay, we have not written for error. Let's write error message. So I'm going to use the same error message we have here. Do I need to use that one? Let me see if I have another error message to use. So simpler error message to use. Okay, this is simpler. So we have a simpler error message here. So I'm going to put it at the top of the form. So I'm going to paste it here into V. So MSG. So we're saying if there was a message. So this only work only when what have message to display. So if there was a message, print what that message here. Else, so we intend this to do what? Log us in. So if there was a message, as if there was an error message, print the error message here. So msg. So if there was an error message, print that error message here. Else, do what? Just write login at the top. So let me go and refresh. So I expect it to show the login at the top. So yeah, it's actually working. So let's try to see if there will be an error message. So all fields are required. I'm still having, but the red is not working. I need to put important here to override the bootstrap, because we are writing. Always remember that we are writing on top of bootstrap. So whenever you're using a bootstrap, you have to know that it have already been styled. So important. Oh, I need to put 3 here. So important. Okay, I think I made mistake. I put comma there, and I think I made the same mistake inside of my register. Let me see. I think I made the same. Okay, I did not. So now let me go back and refresh. Let's see if that error message will come back again. Let's see our error message. Right, the error message is shining right now. So let's refresh again, and let's try to fill in. So I think we used Mike. Let's try Mike at gmail.com. Password 1 2. So it's directing me to what? Home. It have logged in. So it's directing me to home, but the page, I think it did not direct me very well. Let me see. I need to go back. forgotten I'm inside controller. So what I needed to do is, instead of writing it the way I wrote it, where is it? So instead of writing it like this, I will just remove this and just put the .php there. .php. So I'll try to log in again. So mic. So mic 1 2. So login. Right now, our login is working perfectly. Go to welcome. So our login is working perfectly. So we're now in the home page. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to make sure, probably we're going to talk about uploading. So recognizing our, we just assigned it into the section. The section have no longer recognized us very well. In our next page, we're going to talk about how the page, in our next lecture we're going to talk about how to recognize the user. We're going to write our section in full. So then next thing we're going to plan to write again will be how to upload stuff. No, last time we have done how to upload stuff, but let's try to do how to upload like a profile picture or something like that. So I'm going to paste this for you guys. So what did I copy? So I copied the controller. I'm going to copy all of them for you. So the controller first. So followed by, do I really need to, okay, let me copy the login. So next thing I need to copy again is, so I don't need, we didn't write anything here, so I don't need to do anything here. Let me copy the home also, in case you just, so you don't forget that there is a home page. So just paste it there. So see you in our next lecture. So